Welcome back, everyone. It is the 8th of May. I'm Drift Johnson, and we're going to take a look at the SUPIR upscaling pack. So what I've done is I've put together a collection of workflows for you guys that are going to be using the new pruned SUPIR upscaling checkpoint. So like I said, there's a basic workflow, which we're going to dive into in a minute. It's just a basic SDXL workflow with the SUPIR upscaling tail end. I've also built a sort of special version of Trio. This will get wrapped up into an update to that workflow pack soon, but you get it here first. So the Trio triple latents into SUPIR, and we also get cos. So I've just preset it because I found it didn't really work with cosXL when you did it into SUPIR. So I built a workflow which has like 2 checkpoint loaders. So it loads a checkpoint for making the image, and then it loads a different check. So you can use your cosXL merge or whatever for the first one. And then you still get the full color range as well, which is pretty cool. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. And then lastly, we've also got the Trio Fusion HD Plus. So this is the Trio Fusion HD Plus workflow with SUPIR. And what I've done is I've actually kept the iterative upscale that it used to have in addition to SUPIR. And now I'll show you why at the very end of the video. So that's a little bonus if you stick on for the whole thing, or just skip. I guess you could just skip to the time code. Anyway, there's also an image to image SUPIR, which doesn't have a text to image generation component. It just takes any image that you put in, like an image loader, and then does the SUPIR with some prompt and a model. All right. So that's pretty much it. You're going to need the SUPIR V0Q. That's V0Q. There's 2 of them, but that's the one I picked up, and that's the one that works great. So also, you're going to need SDXL Lightning 8-step because it helps with the SUPIR side. It's quite slow, and Lightning really helps. So that's everything. So you can grab the SUPIR. Oh, this is the actual original page as well. So everything is in the article. So obviously we've taken it's like a branch of this. I've taken the workflows and then modified them to use SUPIR upscaling. It's going to get published in a little while. I just wanted to get the video out at the same time. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So let's jump across. Oh, before we do, let's take a look at some outputs, huh? So as you can see here, on the right, what we've got is an image that I've generated with my Not the True World using a particular style that's in that model. And then on the left, what we've got is we've got the SUPIR upscale. Now, I've tried to, it's 1-to-1 on the left, and we've zoomed in a lot. It's 146% on the right. So, in fact, I'm kind of in the way. Let me just move this a bit. You go over there a bit. You go over there a bit. And then we'll just kind of try and line it up a bit. Oh, it's just going to be annoying, isn't it? I reckon it's... I'm getting so confused. About there-ish. Right. We should be able to look at the next one. It should be the same, right? So if I go 1-to-1 and go over to this edge here, and then we zoom in to try and match the picture, a bit smaller, oh, a bit smaller, something like that, a bit bigger, something like, oh wait, no. There we go. Right. So when we take a look at this, the lines are a lot better. And it's painted in a lot of extra details as well. You can see them clearly. You know what I mean? It's a lot sharper in the clouds. Okay. You can see that's more like vegetation, not just generic moss. The rocks have got like more rocky. Okay. So this looks really good. And I think it's easier to get rid of more detail than it is to, I think it's easier to deal with too much detail than it is to try and build detail in, if that makes sense. I've always said that. So it's sort of like, this is nice, and it is, the detail's actually astounding when you zoom in on it, to be honest. But when you zoom something up and it's going to be looked at in the full size, it doesn't really work. You just need a little bit more, and this I think pushes it just over the edge. It 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 would be nice if we could fine tune it or something, because it does seem like some shapes it just doesn't really understand. But generally speaking, like I say, let's just go full screen. This is pretty good. I think I was experimenting with tiling in some of these, so you can ignore the artifacts. Yeah, I was experimenting with tiling, so let's just keep going until we get to the next. There. So what is going on here? So it's done its best. One thing I did notice is it's got a tendency to turn things into wire sculptures rather than trying to paint actual people. But like I said, it's I still think it's good. So anyway, let's jump into the workflows. It's not like messing around. Like I said, some of those images are calibration steps, so I wouldn't get hung up too much. I've not like cherry picked or anything. So let's look at it live. So right now we've got the Ancient Realms style log loaded. So let's take a quick look at the workflow and see what it's actually doing. So right now I've got it in basic mode. So it's got like one checkpoint, which it's using for both sides. There's a Lora stack, which is allowing me to load my custom Lora. If you don't want to load a custom Lora, you don't need the CR. You don't need the stack. All right. The loader here, RG3, is for the lightning. You're going to need that. But if you want to run it without lightning, I have provided you an alternate config for the SUPIR sampler. So I would use the one with 60 steps. Okay, it's a little bit different, but it should give you good results. I'm using Tard Restore here, but I actually like Restore EDM as well. So let's just make sure that our seed is fixed. Yeah, seed is fixed. So if I just quickly go back, and before we get crazy, a nice feature here is the compare preview. So we can scrub left and right and see the difference that the upscaler has made. And it is quite apparent. And now I've just changed it to EDM. You see how it's less, the other sampler called DPMPP2M, that one is like quite harsh. Like if I do that one again, the other one, the EDM restore, is not nice. Like this is soft. You see how it's quite soft? It hasn't drawn. This one draws lines around everything, which is nice for some art styles where you want that contrast. But for something like this, it can be a bit too noisy when you actually zoom in and look at it. You go, ooh, it's a bit noisy, right? Which is fine. It's just sometimes this is quite a good one, actually. Yeah, this is quite a good one. So if I just go to Restore EDM and then we take a look at that one, you'll see what I mean. See, right now, it's very hard lines. You can see a lot of contrast in all the features. And as soon as we get, whoop, there it is. This is a lot softer. You can barely see that it's been upscaled, although it has. There are some problems, like I said. Sometimes it doesn't get better, sometimes it gets worse. But again, if you use a brush, you can easily fix it when it's too hard. It's when it's too soft, it's more difficult to deal with, as I mentioned earlier. So there we go. It's pretty good. It's not making huge changes. So these 3 arches, 3 windows, all the features are there, but it's kind of sharpened them up a bit. Added a little bit of variation as well. And also this sort of nice noise as well, where you're getting it in the darkness. If I go here, before, that's pretty good. Sometimes I don't have a good example here. If I had a good example of some darkness, you might be able to see. No, it's not really. It's just gotten more rockier rock. All right then. So that's the basic workflow. Now, obviously, I have my trio pack. And so what I've done is I've provided the trio SUPIR. So we'll chuck that in. It's basically exactly the same. The only thing different is it has the trio triple latent back end. So again, let's just fix the seed. And right now I'm using SDXL base. But you can use any SDXL model. So we'll let it do its triple business. What prompt is it even using? I didn't check. Ancient realm still. Cool. All right. So we've got our first image and we should get the upscale. Okay, there we go. Right, so let's have a look and see. So it's put in some interesting details. Like, here we go. You can see the details coming into that tower. And also it sharpens up the background quite well. This is on DPMP. I can tell. Let me just, yep. So let's just put this one onto EDM, run it again. Because you can really see the detail that's coming in. And what I'm going to do now is load a different checkpoint. So there we go. Look at this. Nice, nice, nice. I do prefer the EDM. It's not as sharp, but it blends in better. And because you don't really want it to be such a drastic change when you do an upscale. You want it to build in detail, but you don't want it to change everything considerably. That's not what you want. So I've used the same prompt for the upscaler, and I'm obviously loading the Lora in the upscaler side. So obviously the next thing that we would try to do is use, for example, Juggernaut, right? So same seed, obviously it's a different, the image will change because when we change the checkpoint, it's different noise. But we will go again with Juggernaut. Whoops. Okay, so taking a look at this, that's interesting. So using Juggernaut, the detail is very subtle. You see, this is what you want. You can't even tell. You can barely even tell. So you have to zoom in. And then we can see it's apparent. Look at the difference. Blurry, sharp. Blurry, sharp. Now what's interesting though is it's very fine. I'm going to try it on the other sampler and see, because this is EDM. So I wonder if DP is going to make it look like super contrast, because this is actually quite nice. It's just sharpened it up, added a bit more texture to the brickwork. Look, what's this one done? Oh, see what I mean? This is really quite big. It's quite strong, you know, which is nice. See, what I would actually recommend doing is probably doing both and then painting in, paint in the high contrast areas. I'm going to show you that later. I need to slow down. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. Right. Let's put it back on EDM for now. And then we're going to try another different checkpoint, because this is, really need to stress this. So the prompt is coming from the Lora that we have loaded. Okay. So that's how we're using one of the test prompts from my style Lora, not the true world. So what we really, and the negative prompt is the same as well. It's bad quality moon, mainly because there were too many moons in my data set. So I tried to block them out. Hit and miss, right? I'm also using my aspect size for the 16:9, but you can just type in a 16:9 aspect ratio and just do any old. You don't have to do that. Code is on my GitHub. Right. So let's go ahead and load up my favorite RealViz. RealViz XL3. I wonder if they've done a 4.0. That would be cool. So yeah, same prompt, same seed, different model. And what we're doing is I just wanted to show you, I want to show you this. So let's see what we get. And we're back. So let's take a look and see what RealViz does when we load it up with Okay, so as far as I can see, it's really tight. You see how you can't really see the difference at this scale? You can see it changing when you whip it right and left, but you couldn't actually pick out the detail. So what I'm going to do is zoom in on the tower here on the corner. And as you can see, it's gotten a bit brickier. Okay, but we've got some artifacts here being brought in. See, before we've got a uniform texture, and there's actually a bit of a warp in the texture, a bit of a deviation. It's not bad necessarily. Again, it's coming in nice and sharp. I think Juggernaut actually did a little bit better at this. But see how we're extracting completely different features, especially those three arches. Wow. But then this one down here didn't really work. It got confused with the shadow. So now, of course, we turn our attention to the merge that we created in the checkpoint merger video. So we're going to see if we can use RealViz Juggernaut Hermite. Same again. Let's see what we can get. This is really good, though. Does kind of mess up sometimes, though. Like, it's kind of lost the shape. But everything else is stunning. Okay, so here we have my merge of RealViz and Juggernaut. I'm calling it Real Jugs XL. And let me just see this one. So what's interesting about this merge is we've fixed that weird artifact problem with the warping. And we've ended up gaining access to some really quite interesting patterns. And that's the fake cubic hermite merge. Okay, I will do a style transfer merge test in a minute just to show you what the difference will be. If you've seen that video, the checkpoint merge pack, then you will know how I created that model. May as well put a link in the description as we're referring to it. We're testing all of these. There will also be a link to the cosXL converter because we'll test that as well in a sec. So as you can see, we're getting good details. Like I say, some of them are a bit wonky. Like that's a bit wonky, you know. We do have ruin, I think, or ancient tags sometimes will give you, imperfect structures because they're supposedly all wrecked and whatnot. This is looking pretty good. Got to remember, no one's going to be zooming in that far. And also, we can actually reduce this down now. We've got the detail and do it again. But I wouldn't do that too many times because you risk making the just turning it to mush. So what I'm going to do next is, because we've looked now at, oh yeah, that's right. So now we look at the style transfer preset that I used in the model merge video, and we go again. Now this should be a very similar image. It's technically the same model, just a slightly different recipe of the two ingredients. Okay, so now let's take a look at the style transfer mix instead of the fake cubic hermite mix. So this is the same two models, Juggernaut and RealViz, put together through SUPIR. Let's see what we got. That is very tight, actually. Oh, we got a mistake there. Oh, nasty mistake there. See, it got confused with this blurry piece and it kind of tried to make windows and then gave up. Okay. All right. So this is actually really quite good. There's another mess up just there. We've got a splodge. But here's the thing, and this is something which we're gonna get to. We're building towards it, guys. We can fix little bits like that. We can make the whole thing look perfect. It just takes a little bit of effort. So All right. So that's what you would expect to get out of that. Like I said, the better your model is, it seems, the better your the better your checkpoint is, and the better the LoRa, combined with how good your prompt is, all of that will make it better, and then it will be enhanced when you feed that through SUPIR. So let's move on to Cos Trio, because that's a quick one. So with Cos Trio, there's one difference. You have a checkpoint loader for making the images, which is the cosXL model. All right. I'm going to be using Cos Real Jugs XL. All right. And then for the SUPIR side, just a normal, same thing. Real jugs. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to load the Lightning LoRa on that one, and we're going to run it. I think I did try this with Hyper earlier, but I can't remember what happened. Anyway, we'll take a look at that in a minute because I want to get this done. I'm kind of trying to step up the difficulty bit by bit. We'll get there. Okay, so taking a look at it, what we've got, and let's just give you a quick reminder. So this would have been the first image it made. That would have been the second image it made, and that would have been the third. So that's what the triple latent does. It essentially makes it create the same image a few times, and usually that gets it closer to the model memory. Okay, it's like a triple wind, do over 3 times, and often it's the same model, same prompt, but it's giving the same latent as a starting point, and often this helps. Sometimes some things might get washed out, which is why we've got the basic version in the pack. But usually the triple latents sort of add a lot of detail into the image. Anyway, if we go over to the result now, so with SUPIR, it's made the girders a bit girdier. Okay, it seems to be trying to make vegetation, but not as much as usual. The contrast is still really good. One thing here in the darkness, it was just a grid pattern. Yeah, this is what Diffusion does sometimes, it just makes a grid pattern. And SUPIR has cleaned that up with just a bit of, it looks like compression noise from a camera. And so that helps to make it a little bit more natural, I think. Anyway, we zoom in here. Before, we did have nice straight lines there, which we kind of have lost. But if you look, it kind of looks like there's something there. In other words, it's introducing detail, and it's taking away this sort of scaffolding that we were getting everywhere. Look, see, there's more of it. You get this scaffolding, and it's due to the way the units work. You often will get scaffolding type stuff, and this is just cleaning it all up. And you might not have noticed it, but your brain did. So this is like a nice way of cleaning up the image, getting it prepared for some more stuff that we can do with it. So anyway, as I said, I have been saving another version, which is the old upscale version. And what it tends to be is a lot more washed out, a lot smoother, and it's got these lines you see in the darkness. And I've got a little trick that I want to show you, but we'll get there. Like I said, I'm trying not to bait you too hard. All right. So moving on, we have one of the last ones. So this is Trio Fusion HD Plus, and this is from the pack that was using all of the lovely IP adapter V2 stuff. So what I've done is I've used a picture of a wave, which I believe was part of a demo, and then I've used one of my cities, and then I've used Rock House, one of the Rock House images. And I think what I might do, just to mix this up, is use one of those buildings, one of those that we've just made. So we've got a little bit more weight on that. Right, so now what are we using for the prompt? Neo future style. I think that's going to be more like this sort of stuff. So I think just to mix it up, what we'll do is we'll grab a different prompt from the keywords. We'll go back to that ancient realm style, which is the sort of old looking stuff. Right, so I'm going to put my prompt in there. I'm going to put the same prompt in here. Oh, I had Jungle City on there for some reason. Okay, whatever. All right, and so just taking a quick look at this. So it's exactly the same as what we had before. We had SUPIR down the bottom. We have the text to image generation at the top. We have the triple latents just there. And then over on the left-hand side, we've got our inputs for IP adapter. We're using the wave with shuffle on IP adapter noise. And that's how we're doing our IP adapter setup. It's set to style transfer. Okay. This is all defaults from the packs. Checkpoint we're going to use is cosXL Hermit, which is the custom model that I made in the checkpoint merger tutorial. And then on the SUPIR side, we're just using the non-cosXL version of the same merge. All right. The reason I'm doing that is because I had bad results when putting cosXL through this, but I do like having the full color range that we get. We get dark darks. In fact, that's probably not a good example. We'll get a good one now. Let's take a look at what that looked like. So coming out of the model, it looks like this. Second pass looks like this. Third pass, wait, that's not the third pass. Hang on a minute, what's going on? 1, 2. Oh, it looks like it didn't save the third for some reason, because that is the iterative. Oh, look at that. That was the third pass. Yeah, done something weird. There's something weird going on. All right, so let's just start again. Okay, so if we take a look at the results. So taking a look at the first pass, and then the second, and then the iterative. And look how smooth this iterative is. It's almost a watercolor. Okay. And that'll come in handy later. We save both of those, right? And that's really quite powerful because what we've got, it's so funny. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. The iterative upscaler has smoothed it out, and SUPIR has given it loads of detail. So that means we have a high detail layer and a low detail layer. And we can have a lot of fun with that. You can do two things straight away with no effort in any image editor. And like I said, we're going to get there. But basically, the good thing to note is we've still got the high color range. If you notice, we've got true white to true black here, which is pretty impressive. And like I said, these details are good, and we're not losing the contrast, which is the most important thing. If I go like this, oh yeah, you can almost see the brickwork. Okay, this is good. This is good. All right. So again, what did we do? We used big water image, we used city, and we used rock house. And what did we get? We ended up with the water made sure that we weren't actually on an ocean. We're floating up in the sky. Okay. Second, the rock house gave us this high likelihood for it being just a single rock, because they're always a house on a rock. Third, we got our city on the rock. Now, the reason there's buildings growing off the bottom is actually because of another style that leaked in during this train. Okay. And I actually kind of wanted it to do stuff like that. So, I'm kind of exploiting the fact that happens, but I don't want to get boiled down. The point is that when you look at this, look, it knows it's building, not rock, which is really cool. Anyway, so that's basically where we're at with that one. So we've got one last workflow to look at, and then I'll give you your little bonus thingamajig I've been hinting at constantly. So the last one is probably the one that most of you are going to use. I mean, I don't know. It's just the most easy to use, being that it just requires an image input. That's all. You don't have to wait for it to do loads of stuff. You can just get any old image, right? Any old checkpoint. I'm going to use real jugs because we've been using that one the whole time. I've actually got it set to ancient realm, which I don't think matters, but here we go. And it's going to upscale this image for me using SUPIR. Probably SUPIR, and I just keep calling it SUPIR, but whatever. It's cool. Okay, we've got our compare. So let's have a little zoom in and see what happens to it. I mean, to be honest, that's not that bad. I've had worse results with this particular test image. If I really zoom in, we'll start to see what's going on a bit more. You can see whenever we have this grid pattern, which does come up quite a bit in SDXL, it's very quickly going in and filling it in with a whole bunch of detail, which is nice. It really breaks up that wooden fence at the side of the building, and it actually doesn't, that is quite similar. It's almost uniform, like it was cut wood, but now it looks like a ramshack. It's just random bits have just been hammered in. That's what it kind of looks like to me anyway. Maybe I'm just making it up in my head. I can see a seam in the roof there, and I worry if that is yeah, it is. That's a tile boundary. So you can sometimes see a tile boundary. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a line right there. Can't see it in the rock, but look, you can see it here. And again, I know it was done with a tile of 1024. So that means there's a one there. So, but you can't see it. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it in the ocean too. Now that's something which is an easy fix as well, but it's just something to bear in mind that you probably want to have adjust the tile overlap. You can do all that stuff. I've just decided to give you the base that works. And to be honest, I only just noticed that myself. But yeah, it's got a stride here for the tile. See, you start getting into complicated math, so there's no point getting confusing. The bottom line is, it works. And like I said, anybody with a dab hand, you can actually airbrush a line like that out in no time. So I'm not too bothered. You should always be aiming to do some kind of human intervention with your work, as much as possible, in fact. Let's be real. But again, I don't know what you're going to use it for. You might just use it for fun, But certainly there was no line, then there's a line. And because it's in the half, that means tiling. So hang on a sec, tiled. Guess what? Let's put it on not tiled and see what happens. I bet that was all it was. Okay, let's take a look at what we got. So have we still got a big old line in the sea? There's no line in the sea. Okay, right. So basically, if you're going to use the tiled thing, make sure you do some math and adjust the tile sizes, okay? Because that does take a bit of math just to get the tile size, and there's an overlap, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. For us, we're just going to use the restore EDM sampler or the DBE. You'll see. We've already looked at it earlier in the video. Essentially, it's going to give you a bit more contrast on lines. So when we get the result, you'll see this is a lot nicer. I find this blends in a lot more with the original. So you're getting more detail, but it's not destructive, if that makes sense. I mean, it totally is. It totally is destructive. But okay, so yeah, look at that. This kind of looks like it's been taken with a hard camera. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like everything is so hard. Like it's sharp and it's contrasty, but it's also a bit of a jumbled mess. Like that also looks like it's trying to be the roof of the roof is not, the tiles are huge. I mean, it doesn't look bad, especially these people at a distance. They look more like people, even though when you zoom in on it. But this is the thing. You got to be careful when you're analyzing stuff, because if you zoom in on anything far enough, it'll look like pixels. So, but yeah, I think that the EDM, after testing a whole bunch of different values, I find that the EDM is probably the best one. Obviously, your mileage may vary. I can only talk about the exact settings that are in the workflows I've put out in the pack, because there's so many variables. You might find some golden setup that gives even better results. Um, but I tried decreasing the tile size and stuff like that, and I couldn't make it work with all aspect ratios. So I thought, well, you know what? This does work and it doesn't break. Yeah, no tile size thing. Zoom in on the building. It's doing the same thing as before. It's kind of breaking it up. It's almost like there's a jumble sale out front. Really interesting to see how it can enhance your images. And then obviously now they're at such a high scale, you can put them into bigger, you can do HD production work with them. Certainly less complex concepts are going to come out better. So if you want to do like waves with the ocean, easy peasy. Waves and rocks and ocean, even easier. Adding the house might get a bit sketchy. People, even sketchier. It depends on what model you've got, what Lora you've got, what prompt you have, what the settings you have. And then if you want to take longer, which is going to give better accuracy, you could always just drop lightning and use completely different settings. But I think that this is a pretty good trade-off for time. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick bonus thing in Photoshop. It shouldn't take very long. It's just a couple of layers. And I can show you how we can use that low detail, high detail output thing to make something cool. So let's jump over there. Ah, see, it just struck me as I was about to show off this trick that a lot of these workflows have been cleaned up before I've put them out. So they don't actually have the iterative upscaler anymore. So what you're looking for can be found. So not all the workflows actually have what I'm talking about. So let me just be sure. If I show you here, Trio Fusion HD plus SUPIR. So that one is using the IP adapter and everything. We take a look over on the right, we've actually got here, we've got a iterative upscaled image, pixel K sampler, upscaler provider, and load upscale model with whatever your model is, right? And then it'll save it as Trio 0 HD. And over here, Trio 0 HD. So these files actually don't go into the SUPIR folder like like I thought they did. So just to note, not all of these workflows have both upscalers. Basic, I believe, only has SUPIR. Okay, but I might be going completely insane at this point. But I just wanted to sort of cover it. So, you can quite simply copy and paste, and you can duplicate the tab and then, make changes without having to close everything down. And then we get a new one. And oh, do you know what? I fancy doing the thing again. So I'm going to post it in here and then hook everything up. Okay. And I say, and then hook everything up. Usually, what I do with my workflows is I have the positive and the negative and the model. And that's usually all you need. Sometimes you'll need the VAE, which is right there. So you just run it. You can run everything from here, click and drag. Sometimes what I do is I'll take the bits that I want to hook up and just drag them over, so it's not so much of a pain in the bollocks. And there you go. So we're back. I think we're going to just quickly break down what's going on. So there's a couple of things you can do with stuff like this. Obviously, you could generate a depth mask, and then you could run that through something like Photoshop's neural plugins, and that'll give you an instant mask, which you can then paint a layer to what you want to do. But I decided to do something which doesn't necessarily need Photoshop. So you could do this with anything. I'm going to take it from the top. So what we've got is we've got our sort of low quality upscale. And what I've done is I've put that at the bottom so I can kind of punch holes through everything I'm doing and get access to the colors. All right. So next thing we've done is we've made this. You can see here my hacky explanation of what's going on for you, right? So we've created a sort of extremely high contrast black and white with levels, which doesn't take long from one of the images. So we've got the detail. We've put a lot of darkness here. And the idea is we want to paint in the stuff that's underneath it, right? So we're going to use exclusion on this layer. So that gives us this that you can see there. See that edge? That's the hole. I'm trying to make this obvious, all right? You would never do 100% like this. But anyway, it's okay for the demo, right? Now, it might look a little bit weird right now, but that's because we're deliberately trying to let this bottom part come through. And then we add in the second layer, which is our other image. And that one, I've put it on luminosity, all right? And so that means that we get the detail and we get everything coming through. And then with a little bit of levels and a little bit of exposure, we're getting it to something which is almost, it's getting there, right? So now I want to show you with, let's say, probably too much, 15% opacity, 10% flow. Okay. Turn the size down. And then we can paint in a bit of what we wanted from underneath. So I might decide, oh, I actually want this corner here. Okay. So this is terrible, all right? You'd never do it this quick. I just want to, in fact, you know what? There's no point in showing you that. The whole point is to do it slow and work at it so you can't tell. But, well. So making sure that you haven't created a random layer. Basically, select the mask, right? And then with low opacity and flow, you can start painting things in from underneath. So if I do it a little bit more, with a little bit more, just want to show it's actually doing something. See, we're getting a little bit of the color back there. Yeah. Oh, look, this bit's a bit color there. Oh, right. We can sort of take this over detailed mess and kind of take it back to what it was before, but only where we wanted to, right? So, anyway, you can spend hours on stuff like this, and it seems to have gotten stuck in the UI again. So I'm going to press enter. There we go. The point I was trying to make was that it's possible to make many versions of the same image and then combine them in an interesting way to give an aesthetic that you want. So like for me, this is pretty good. This is what I wanted. And it's not image one or image two. It's somewhere in between. And I chose a patchwork of what I wanted to choose. And with a few other simple changes, you've pretty much made a new image, right? And that's like your starting point. So I just wanted to show you that because obviously the concept is you got a high detail and a low detail, and then you use the patches of light or dark to mask out. So what I would have done is I actually would have kept the aim is to keep the low detail where it's bright and then put the high detail where it's dark. Because I found that the high detail image did a much better job in the shadows, whereas this one either completely got rid of any detail or, as in the case of the original image, it made those grids everywhere. And that's fixed by SUPIR. So then I figure, well, we blend the two and we get something in between. And yeah, that's the concept. So glad to have shown you that. The entire pack is going to be up on Civit. There's going to be an update for the triple latents as well. So I won't make a video about that. I'm just going to put the update out. It's essentially going to be V7 plus the upscaling pack with SUPIR because I built it all with Trio. So there you go. That's pretty much everything I got for you. So I hope you enjoy the upscaler. I'm getting up out of here. I got more stuff to show you, so look forward to the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.